Buckle up, folks, because today we're diving into babies, bad policies, and an even bigger mess. How we're making a crisis worse.
Ooh.
It's going to get bumpy, but hang in there because what you'll hear today is all based on facts. I've put a massive reference guide in the video description so you can check everything out for yourself. Now, imagine trying to run a marathon, but every mile, fewer people are joining your team. Yeah, that's what's happening in America right now. Our birth rates are falling fast, and it's creating a huge problem. Fewer babies mean fewer workers, fewer people paying into Social Security, and more retirees who need support. We're setting ourselves up for an economic disaster. But guess what? It gets worse. Instead of tackling this crisis head on, some people are pushing policies that will only make it harder to keep our economy afloat. These aren't minor mistakes. They're big, bad decisions driven by outrage rather than logic. And when outrage leads, logic doesn't stand a chance. Now, this is serious, but we're going to break it all down so you can see exactly how we got here and, more importantly, how we can fix it. Now, let's dive in. So here's the first big problem. Birth rates. They're plummeting. Back in 1957, the average mom had 3.7 kiddos. Fast forward to today, that number is down to 1.6 kids per mom. And here's the kicker. We need 2.1 kids per mom just to keep the population stable. That's called replacement level, meaning each generation needs to have enough children to replace itself and keep the population from shrinking. When birth rates drop below replacement, the population shrinks. And when populations shrink, the consequences hit everyone. And here's what's at stake. We have aging population, more people retiring, like myself, but fewer workers to replace them. Imagine a whole generation of empty job positions. You got Social Security crisis. With fewer workers, it means less money going into Social Security, which is the system that pays benefits to retired workers. The problem is more retirees are relying on that system, and it's getting harder to keep up. We have labor shortages. Key industries like healthcare, construction, and agriculture are already short on workers. With fewer people entering the workforce, who's going to fill those jobs? I mean, this is like trying to build a house with fewer and fewer bricks. Eventually, the cracks start to show, and it all gets harder to hold together. But we're not just dealing with a birth rate problem. Now come the bad policies that are going to make this situation even worse. First up in the bad ideas department is mass deportation. Hey, it's a policy that got people fired up. I get it. The idea is simple. Deport millions of undocumented immigrants, free up jobs for Americans, and reduce the burden on public services. I mean, it sounds like a win-win, right? Yeah, but here's the thing. Outrage and logic don't hang out together. This policy may sound like a quick fix, but it's going to backfire big time. Labor shortages explode. I mean, think about the industries that depend on immigrant labor, like farming, construction, elder care. We're talking about jobs that are already struggling to find workers. If we deport the people doing these jobs, who's going to step up? It's not like there's a line of workers ready to jump into these roles for the same pay. And then prices skyrocket. Fewer workers means higher wages. Sounds good, right? Yeah, but those increased labor costs get passed straight on to you, the consumer. Expect the price of groceries, housing, repairs, and everything in between spike. Then we have an economic slowdown because of this. Deporting millions doesn't just mean fewer workers. It means fewer consumers. That means millions of people no longer buying things, no longer spending money. That means less business revenue, more layoffs, and a weaker economy. Think of it like this. Have you ever seen someone react emotionally with anger and outrage over what they assume rather than what is reality or factual? Let's not do that. No matter how much I'd love to wish a sinking ship to stay afloat, that's Just not going to happen. Imagine entire fields of crops rotting because no one is there to harvest them. Restaurants, construction sites, hospitals, crippled by labor shortages. It's like pulling the foundation out from under a house and expecting it to stay standing. Now, outrage feels good in the moment, but the damage comes quick. And it's not just this one bad policy, it gets worse. The next bad policy, tariffs. This one makes for a great talking point. I mean, who doesn't like the idea of protecting American jobs by making foreign products more expensive, right? Yeah, but here's the thing. The last time we tried this, and we did, it blew up in our faces. Ever heard of the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act? It helped make the Great Depression even worse. Are we doomed to not learn from history? Right? Because tariffs are like taxes, but on imports. So if you want that new phone or that new shirt, it's going to cost a lot more. And if you think, well, I'll just buy American, well, guess what? Those prices are going up too because American companies rely on imported parts. Tariffs raise costs across the board. Most businesses in the U.S. don't work in a vacuum. They rely on materials and parts from other countries. If tariffs make those parts more expensive, producing things here gets even pricier. And when foreign countries hit us back with their own tariffs, our businesses sell less abroad, meaning fewer exports and more job losses. We don't want a global trade war. I mean, other countries won't just sit back and take it. They'll retaliate, putting tariffs on our goods, which makes it harder for U.S. companies to sell overseas. We've seen it before. That means fewer exports, fewer jobs, and slower growth. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire and expecting it to go out. I mean, spoiler alert, the house burns down. We've been here before. Are we really going to repeat this mistake? So why propose these policies together? Well, so if these two policies, mass deportation and tariffs, make horrible sense, especially when you add them on top of the birth rate situation, why would anyone propose them? Or even worse, why would anyone think they're a good idea? There's got to be more to this insanity, right? Well, let's break it down. These policies fire up different groups of voters. Mass deportation appeals to those who want stricter immigration enforcement. Tariffs sound like a way to protect American jobs. And cutting support for families, well, here's where we clarify. Cutting family support means resisting programs like affordable childcare, paid parental leave, and child tax credits. Things that could actually help raise birth rates. Politicians need quick wins. Mass deportation looks like decisive action on immigration. Tariffs can be sold as protectionist measures for the American worker. Cutting family support seems like fiscal responsibility. None of these policies solve the deeper long-term problems like shrinking workforces or labor shortages. But don't worry, there's a better way to patch this sinking ship. Now, here's what we should be doing instead. Immigration reform. Instead of mass deportations, we need pathways to citizenship and work visas. This keeps our workforce strong and fills those critical job gaps and ensures industries like farming and elder care don't collapse overnight. We need family-friendly policies. You want more babies? Well, let's make it easier for families. Paid parental leave, affordable childcare, and tax breaks could encourage family growth without breaking the bank. And more families mean more future workers, a stronger economy in the long run. We need smarter trade deals. Instead of slapping tariffs on everything, let's make smart trade deals that help American businesses compete globally while keeping prices reasonable for consumers. Open markets drive innovation and keep costs low, which benefits everyone. Bad decisions can sink the ship fast, but with smarter policies, we can keep this boat afloat. The key is balance. Immigration reform, family support, and smarter trade deals. These aren't just abstract policies. They touch real families, real jobs, and real communities. The choices we make ripple through the economy and affect everyday people. So, let's push for policies that lift people up instead of policies that drag everyone down. What do you think? Are we headed for a disaster, or can we still turn this ship around? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. I've got another video for you to watch right now, right here. Till next time, see ya.